Good evening. The Building and Facilities Construction Committee meeting of Wednesday, March 21st, 2018 is called to order. The first thing on the agenda is the municipal building and primary school roof capital projects. Bill?
We'll start with the primary school roof and the gym roof. We are, due to the weather, we do have a scheduled site walk, punch list / warranty site walk on both roofs, but with the snow that keeps coming back, we keep pushing that out and out. So once the weather clears up, we'll get that inspection done, and then we'll see if there's any lingering issues. Otherwise, we'll be done with that project.
Anybody have any questions regarding what Bill has told us? Linda?
Have the leaks stopped since the last time?
Since the last time, there have been no leaks.
Okay, good.
Anyone else? Mike?
No.
Yeah.
What is the assumed or projected current date that's supposed to be on the warranty? What are they changing?
The original one they submitted was, I want to say, February of last year, but then...
Well, they started in like November or December, and then they were in February, so there's multiple dates.
Right. We all, after much discussion, it was agreed on that it was the February date.
Right.
Okay. Anyone else?
February 18th off the top of my head, but...
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And the windows?
The windows are substantially complete. You'll find the document in your packet indicating that. We're waiting for Verica to submit their final punch list revisions, and we'll get the final pay rec from them and reviewed by GRLA, and if everything's in order, that project should close out.
Okay. Questions? Anyone?
I did put a copy of the status for the budget in your packet as well.
All right.
I have one question.
Yeah, Mike? On the budget or the
No,
windows?
we're on the windows.
Yep.
Would say some additional work that still needs to be done for $510 on it.
That's correct. George had a punch list that was generated, and most of those items had been addressed. I believe all of them have been addressed, but George just needs verification on that.
Yep, one more?
Yeah, and I agree that Verica does a good job. I just don't want to get into the same situation we were in with the roof, paying ahead of time and fighting at the end.
Right.
I did notice that Greenwood, like a month or so ago, had a huge long list of positions that they were hiring for. Some of them were like roofing positions that I'm like, well, what does that mean? Does that mean that they were understaffed when they did the project, when they did our project? Or have they, lost staff or gotten more work? Or it seemed odd that they were hiring for so many different positions at so many different levels all at the same time.
Mike?
One would assume that they're probably gearing up for the coming season because they wouldn't have been doing this type of work during the winter.
It was a while
And
ago.
I personally, I don't think we can project
I'm saying.
what we think.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They're a fairly large company.
Yeah.
Okay, budget. Anybody have any questions on the budget?
This one?
Yes,
What?
that's the budget status, yep.
Yeah. You want to run through a little bit of it on us, Bill? just
Sure
to-
thing. Up in the top left corner are all the town meeting appropriations for funds from the project. It's just a summary of all the cash flow in. I separated it. On the left-hand side is the municipal project, which includes the HVAC, the roof, and the windows. And then on the right-hand side is the primary school roof, which was a separate town meeting article and separate funding. We did group it all together with the intent of having an economy of scale to save on cost, which made tracking it from a budget standpoint a little more confusing.
Yeah.
But we nonetheless did it that way. You'll see there are some residual funds based upon contract values left in GRLA, TRC, and Verika's accounts. TRC we're done with, so that's going to be left in the account. GRLA should be submitting another invoice. I expect they will once the window project completes. It's probably not for that full amount. I expect that amount includes tasks that were not completed or eliminated from their scope for various reasons. And then, of course, Verika's window bill, that's outstanding. So the balance on funds that were committed but yet unpaid is about $14,700. The uncommitted budget so far is $60,000 roughly. And for the school, it's about $20,000, so.
Okay, anyone questions? Mike?
Did GRLA's requests get adjusted? Oh, there was some discussion about the last round of billing that we had.
Yes, they submitted an invoice, this is going back a few months. They submitted an invoice, it was related to the roofing project. We had them come out with the manufacturer's warranty person and Greenwood, and this was in the fall actually. And we walked around the roofs and did a punch list and basically looked for the direction from the warranty provider on whether it met their spec or not. GRLA had a small crew. I think it was 3 people in total that came along. We ended up getting an invoice for that day as well as the report that came subsequent to that meeting. And so I brought it down to Matt. I said, look, this isn't in our original scope. What do you want to do? And Matt denied payment, sent them a letter. They responded with a letter, and I think I shared that through email.
Yeah.
I read that,
Yeah.
you sent a really pointed email.
And basically, they agreed that it was beyond scope and they didn't follow our last contract amendment, which had language in it that said that we were to approve any extra scope items in writing in advance of them performing the work. So that technically didn't meet the contract, so they couldn't invoice us. And they agreed.
Okay, good. No, that's good. Okay, any other?
One
Mike?
other question.
Yep.
How come we have a dump truck?
That was,
transferred from the highway dump truck. That was residual funds or something like that.
Yeah.
That's where the funds came
I
from.
believe so.
That's the capital.
Yes.
That was all
Yes.
voted in one lump sum at town meeting, right? Under that capital.
It's, all I can tell you, it's at the 514 annual town meeting.
Yeah.
That sum of money was transferred from that article.
It just happened to get put in this spreadsheet. I don't remember seeing a dump truck on our list of things before, that's why I was just
No,
curious.
that was the source of funds.
I think it was, yeah, that was in with that group, and I think your point is to show where the windows
It's-
and the
it's-
capital funding was.
Correct.
Yeah, and the,
Oh, okay. So that money got
environmental
put into our
adjustment.
budget,
It's not
but
saying it was-
Subtract
no,
from
it's
the-
not in
identified.
ours.
It's not
No,
for,
in
yeah,
this.
it was
Yeah.
extra money from the, Gene loves that term, from the.
Extra money?
Not
That was
really.
unspent from the acquisition of a dump truck that got transferred into this project, if that makes more sense.
Yep.
Well, we have a dump truck, we can get home.
Yeah, right. Okay, any other questions? If not, we'll move on to the municipal fire alarm system.
Okay, in your packet, there should be the actual entire RFQ document. We put the fire alarm for this building out to bid for designer selection. We went through a process, I want to say, a dozen or so firms downloaded the document, and we had 2 firms show up on our site walk, but only one gave us a written proposal. So we have one firm Regardless of the fact that we only have one submittal, we still have to make sure it meets at least our minimum evaluation criteria. I gave you a chart in your packet that looks like this, and it goes through the scoring criteria. So if you haven't done so yet, I would ask that you go through each item in the evaluation criteria. And like I say, they have to at least meet the minimum criteria. If they don't meet it, then our position probably technically should be they're not qualified to do the work. It's your choice if you want to go through the comparative criteria. The purpose of the comparative criteria is really to compare multiple bids, one against another, so that someone should rise to the top in that
Right,
process.
you have nobody to compare it to.
Right. So,
So basically, go through the evaluation
If
and
they
whether
look
they met or
qual-
not met.
we should look if they met the minimum criteria, and then take a look at the company as a whole and and indicate if we think that they are qualified to do the work.
And you want us to do that tonight?
You can do it tonight. It's not mandatory that you do it tonight. I just don't want the firm that did submit to wait around
Sure.
too long. So if you didn't do it tonight, I would suggest that you maybe submit your responses and recommendation to me in writing, and then I could bring that over to Matt, say, in the next week.
Okay.
It's just this front page then that we need to do, right?
No.
Well, we don't
Yes.
have anything to compare it
Oh,
to,
the
so we don't have the
comparative. That's
comparative
right.
criteria.
Correct.
So
Right.
we can yeah, we can bang out these. This isn't hard.
So if you want me to read them, and then you can check through the document.
I read through the document, so I had a few comments.
Okay.
Would you like me to just
Sure.
read through it? Okay, minimum evaluation criteria, item 1. Applications must be accompanied by a concise cover letter that is a maximum of 2 pages in length. A copy of the cover letter should be attached to each copy of the application. A copy of the MCPPO certification or other certifications should be attached to the cover letter as appropriate.
I'm not sure I can distinguish in this pile what they consider a cover letter. I don't see anything that's 2 pages in length. That sounds like what they're talking about.
It could be 1 page, it's a maximum of 2.
This is the MCPPO certification, right? This form, Phil? I would assume that this, is that?
The certification, no, this is not the certification.
Okay.
The certification is literally a certificate.
It's in there, right?
I'm
I
not
don't see
seeing
it.
Oh, okay. I see, I'm sorry, I see certificate of non-collusion and
There's
tax
a-
compliance.
There's a certification of
And
general.
part of this
building code.
goes to their ability to simply
Government.
read directions, frankly.
Tax compliance.
Let me go check the
And
envelope
then
on
there's
Maria's desk, because
your
sometimes they
comment,
give us, it's clear, it says a copy of the cover letter should accompany each application.
Do you have the original? Yeah.
I have the original.
Okay, and that's the right one.
So we got a proposal here under item 10.
Well, that's, yeah.
If we count that as the cover letter, because I
longer
don't
than
see
2
anything
pages.
else, it's longer than 2 pages, correct?
Way longer than 2 pages, so I would say a no, not met. And if I was gonna make a cover page, I would write on it, cover page, in big letters, right? I don't know.
In the odd chance it's a separate thing in the envelope, let me go grab the
Yeah.
envelope and take a look. can't see the envelope over there.
Everybody agree it's not met?
I agree.
Okay, let me continue. The respondent must certify in its cover letter that it meets the following minimum requirements. Any respondent that fails to include such certification in its response, demonstrating that these criteria have been met, will be rejected without further consideration. To be eligible for selection, the designer must meet all of the following qualifications. No cover letter, so I guess that's not met. 1A, be a qualified designer within the meaning of MGL Chapter 7, Section 38A and a half, employing a Massachusetts registered architect/engineer responsible for being in control of the services to be provided pursuant to the contract.
That they have. He's a PE.
So met.
Yeah.
B, the project architect/engineer for the designer has been certified as a Mass Certified Public Purchasing Official as administered by the Office of the Inspector General of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. I'm not seeing any indication that there's an MCPPO at this firm.
No.
I don't see it in the packet. It's not to say they're not, it's just they haven't indicated that.
Anybody else find it?
Well, my question is, if he isn't, how did he do all this other state work?
There might
Is it-
be,
Under somebody else.
there may be someone else in the firm. They may have been a sub, worked for an architect that had a general contract and they were a sub,
So that's a not met.
So if they're missing all this information, they're disqualified, and you can't contact them to see if you can get this information?
That's a question I would ask town council, but given that we have one submittal, there may be some ability to, request documentation
Okay.
to substantiate. I'd have to ask town council.
Right.
Because we put this out under that limit, the dollar limit.
We put it out even though it wasn't required to be put out. Nonetheless, we've established baseline criteria for the selection. So,
Yeah.
given that we have set the rules for the field, how binding are those rules? That's the question.
So again, back to town council.
Right.
Yep. All right, so everybody agreed that B is not met, right?
Okay. C, project architect/engineer has completed at least 3 similar fire detection/alarm design projects in Massachusetts for existing buildings that are similar in size and scope. And after reviewing their list of projects, I'd say that's
That's met.
absolutely
That
met.
is, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Item 2, the submittal shall contain all of the following required within the RFQ, including A, the standard designer application form, that's basically this chart and subsequent pages. So they've
Met that.
met that. B, a certificate of non-conclusion, attachment B,
Here they are.
that's in there.
Yeah.
C, a certificate of tax compliance, attachment
That's
C,
in there.
that's in there.
Debarment.
That's in
Debarment,
there.
yeah. And then lastly, a certification of the Massachusetts General Laws and Building Code.
They have
attachment.
that too.
Okay. And then item 3, the proposal shall include 1 original proposal and 8 copies for evaluation. An electronic copy of the entire submittal shall also be provided. That's met. Okay.
That being said, I did notice, did anybody else notice that the org charts don't match? There's one on page 2 that just has Edward Orzine filling every role, and then if you go to their technical proposal where they start getting into key personnel descriptions, part 5, then they have an actual org chart here, which to me looks like the real org chart with the director, the technical manager, then there's a PE under him, a staff engineers, and a CAD person. The other one just looks like they forgot to put the names in.
I would agree with you.
Oh, the other thing I noticed reading this too was that they only allowed for 1 monthly progress report, which kind of scared me because the whole construction could take less than a month, which means if it wasn't timed right, they could miss something critical.
Anyone with comments or?
I would love it if it's done in a month.
Yeah, me too.
No, I mean the actual construction
No, I know.
part of it. I mean,
I
not
know.
the, you know, not the bidding and the.
Okay, anyone comments? Should we, go ahead? Bill, have you checked on the areas that haven't been met?
Well,
Question town council first.
I would,
and talk
my
with
preference
Matt.
would be to not delay the process, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to be able to have a vote from the committee pending input from town council, if you're comfortable. If you're comfortable with that, then that would be my preference, so that we could just continue to move forward. And again, you're only gonna make a recommendation.
Right.
And then the ultimate decision comes from down the hall.
Right.
So, if you're comfortable, I mean, I've reviewed what they've submitted. While it doesn't necessarily meet the letter of what we put out for an RFQ, they appear to be a capable and qualified firm. The design fee for this project is around $10,000, and that's minor compared to the scope of the project. So I think, and this is indicative of the fact that we got one submittal.
Right.
So you have to appreciate that too.
And then, I missed the last meeting. There was a firm that we were considering hiring before we decided that we had to go through this process. And they were on that list. I was trying to pull it up on my phone, but the internet's
GGG.
not working. Yes. They didn't submit anything.
Correct.
Okay.
I think,
So if we disqualify them and scrap this whole thing, we could go back to square one. Either that, or we'd have this or nothing.
well, I would solicit input from down the hall at that point. You know, I want to take this one step at a time. We have our RFP that was out, we got our proposals. This is what's before us. Let's make a recommendation on this before we go looking at the next step. If this recommendation is followed or not followed, then we'll have to deal with the next steps after that. Bureaucracy at its finest.
Do I hear a motion?
So what would the motion be, Bill?
The motion would be pending input from town council and review. I was planning on contacting a few of their references in the document. Pending favorable input on both of those items, we would make a recommendation to award the contract to this firm.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
And this firm, just for the record, is Engineering, Planning, and Management, Inc. of Framingham, Mass.
Mike?
Will you hold on that motion for a second?
Sure.
Still had a question.
Yeah.
You're gonna follow up with some of these things. I was looking through the list of the jobs that they have here, and it looks like they're, on number 6 and 7, they're working directly with the town of Ashland on a engineering consulting service. They're doing a designing service for us, not a consulting?
It's the same thing. Consultant, yeah, I would consider that the same.
Okay. So it would, and those are pretty recent jobs. It's $50,000 in costs, it's 2017. It probably would make, you have a direct person to contact there.
Yeah.
And it would only, seems to make sense that where they're missing that one.
Cover
type.
letter and.
Now, the
MCPPO.
MCPPO certification, if they're working directly with Ashland, I don't see how they could do that if they couldn't do it with us. So it may make sense, just a quick phone call.
And just so
see what their
everyone understands, the
experience
MCPPO basically assures us that they understand the Massachusetts procurement laws. And we really want someone that knows the process and what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. The bidding process, basically.
Question answer?
are. I think so.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So voted.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay,
I'll send out an email on what I find.
very good. Thanks, Bill. Okay, this has been a, kind of a long project here, there, and so, yeah, let's move on. All right, municipal gymnasium windows, the status update.
I don't have much of an update. There's been other projects that have been taking priority. We do have 3 quotes from environmental companies for testing, so I imagine we will eventually authorize one of those 3 firms to proceed with testing the windows and caulking for contamination.
Anyone questions? Okay with that? Okay, item 4, green energy.
As you may recall, we were designated a green community, and along with that came some funds that we had access to. It's called designation grant. We recently submitted an application to utilize some of those funds for a LED retrofit project for the street lights throughout the town. So that's currently submitted to the DOER. We should hear back, I imagine, within the next 2 weeks on whether or not we get the grant. I expect we will. Once we're notified of that, we'll get the ball rolling with actually the Boston Area Planning Commission. We're also utilizing the Worcester Planning Commission and basically making sure things move along with the project. So it'll be a good project, I think. From the people's perspective, they'll see everyone will
Something,
notice a big
yes.
difference in the lighting in the road. It will be safer as a result. And But it's a process, you know, the first step is we're gonna have someone audit every single light in town, look at the wattage and make a comparable recommendation for the LED replacement. Then we obviously have to buy the equipment, and then the last step is we're gonna have to probably contract with the company for the ongoing maintenance of the lights. We should save probably anywhere from 75 to 80% in our streetlight utility billing that's been occurring.
Anybody have a question?
This will be funded 100% through grants.
Will the lights keep me up at night?
Yes. Yes.
Pull down your shades.
Get a mask.
Right? Okay, item 5, North Street Spillway update.
New one,
Yes.
I'm sure you've all noticed,
Yes.
the detour.
Yes.
So, this is not the retaining wall project that we just repaired, which caused North Street to be closed for a period of time. This is immediately adjacent to that. The retaining wall project was right here. And that's currently in place and has been constructed. That project's done. Over in this vicinity, I guess it's the southwest corner of the bridge, on the rounding going up North Street. The road at some point in time in the past had been expanded, and in order to expand it, there's a spillway that goes under North Street.
Sure.
Goes to the treatment plant, and it comes from the westerly side of the roadway. There used to be a mill in this area, and thanks to Linda.
Actually, the mill was where the sewer treatment plant is.
Okay.
And it was a huge arch spillway that fed
Fed into
the
the-
power to
okay.
the axe mill.
You remember that?
No, I saw it on some map.
Postcard.
I couldn't, there's normally,
Because Bill had asked
Surely
me
that's
about
what
it,
you're going
on the maps.
and there were several
I don't have nothing in front of conservation for a while.
that
She'll
So-
remember.
So currently, this stone arch, beautiful stone arch spillway is not utilized for any purpose, it's just there. So at some point in the past, the former highway superintendent expanded the road, and in doing so, created a makeshift bridge over the end of the culvert. So the inlet end, there was a bridge over the gap.
So here,
Yeah, that bridge is what failed. And so that's what basically exposed the end of the spillway, and it didn't look like it was in great shape. It's still structurally sound, the remainder of it, but they've had problems with the spillway in the past. So after looking at it as a result of this, we've decided to remove it. And to remove it, we're going to basically backfill it with gravel, and then bring the road back up to grade and regrade the side slope so it's shallower. Right now it's about 1-to-1. It's very steep right there. So we're going to shallow that out, stabilize it, and basically that's the project. So currently it's in front of, we've submitted to conservation, and we're going to go out to bid for it for highway. It's probably, we're guessing, around $60,000, $70,000 in value. That would be Chapter 90 funds.
Questions? Anyone?
what are Chapter 90 funds?
Every time you get a speed ticket.
That's state funds.
I don't get speeding tickets, knock on wood.
Point of order.
State funds that are allocated on a town-by-town basis for highway improvements.
It's unfortunate that
That's
the,
considered a highway?
archway had been covered, you know. It's really nice stuff.
I say keep it and rebuild the axe mill.
That's an option.
there used to be a dam there,
No swearing.
But,
just like a Cook Street.
yeah.
There's pictures.
So I wanted to give you an update on this. It's brand new. This is what's going on. I know people,
How long is that project, do you think?
The project's only gonna take probably a day, believe it or not. It's the permitting and the
Yes.
approval process that takes time.
How deep is that from the surface of the road down?
The height of the culvert is about 5 to 6 feet. We've got a cross-section over here, but in terms of depth, it's probably only 2 feet below grade.
Now, and it's not open all the way across the street to the water sewer?
It is,
Oh. So it's a big hollow tunnel under the road?
correct,
Wow.
Is that what's gonna be filled in?
correct,
All the way?
correct.
Oh, thank God. All right. I was gonna say, don't just fill in that one end.
No.
Okay, good.
All right.
What happened that, was somebody driving over it and it,
I think it was a combination of, we haven't had any kind of claim put in for any damage or anything like that. It was during a rainy period that this occurred, so
big
we expect it was
rainstorm
erosion
we
that
had?
caused it.
We had like 8 inches of rain that
Right.
storm.
Okay. Yep. Very good.
And Highway got on it right away, so.
All right, the next item on the agenda is the minutes to approve January 17th and 21st.
June 21st.
June, I'm
June
sorry.
21st,
I'm
2017.
sorry,
And
my mistake.
I looked in
June
my-
21st, 2017, and January 17th, 2018.
And I
Yes.
looked in my bag and I couldn't find any June 21st at all. I found June 14th.
Okay.
Mary found it, she's like
Mary
the
is
goalie.
very
She gets
good.
these things.
Yes.
But we don't have enough people to approve the June,
No,
because Rebecca was not.
I wasn't there.
Oh, wait a minute. So we do have 3. We only need 3, right?
we need Sean. No?
We need 4?
No,
Yeah, no, we only need 3 out of 4, right?
Yeah.
How many were there?
4. It was
There's
Sean,
me.
Linda, Mike, and myself.
We're 7.
If there's 4,
Yeah.
3
So
should be
it's 3
We should be
sufficient.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to do them tonight?
Yes. Let's get this off. So Mary won't have to track us down again.
That thing won't go away. That ASA 8.
It's haunting us, right?
That's the one that the interim administrator.
Yeah,
Approved.
There you go, there you go.
maybe that's why subconsciously I just wanted to forget about this.
I would have shredded this thing. I would
Never mind. It has to be approved.
make a motion to approve the minutes of June 21st, 2017.
Do I hear a second?
I will second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Right.
Oppose? Thank you. And January 17th, 2018.
I wasn't there.
make a motion to approve the January 17th, 2018 meeting minutes as written.
Second.
Motion made by Linda and seconded by Mike. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Thank you. All right, upcoming meetings. Bill,
Yeah, we're having another one later tonight. No, okay.
do you have?
It'll be the
next-
third Wednesday of next month. I'll tell you what it is. 18th, April 18th,
7 PM.
yes.
All right. Any further discussion? Comments, issues not previously known?
We quickly went over the gym windows. We already have 3 people bid
Yes.
on the testing.
Yes.
Anyone else? If not, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, we adjourn at, there's a reflection on there.
Oh, yeah.
7:45.
7:40, no,
Yeah, it is.
7:45. Thank you.